Mel Dodge, whose vision started this very place as it had become the Cultural Arts Center. Now we know that is an old arsenal. That was a different kind of place, wasn't it? And you can imagine that Tom viewing this, and as your mother told me, presented to Governor Rhodes, let's go for it. Why should this just be an old arsenal where everyone is remembering the hanging at Mountain High? We are going to transform this place in the name of art. That is, it transforms in itself life that oftentimes was in conflict and war. Let's think even of the art of the Olympics. North and South Korea, what? Transforming what was so often conflict that didn't seem to be able to be overcome. Mel was the kind of person, and I can say personally, I knew him, who was always looking to transform something. Even the baby lions in your house. How many years, Norma? 10 years of baby lions. And guess who was the caretaker? Mel's wife of 47 years. Now, we could go on for story after story that we're going to begin with Tom, son of, who, when we asked him, could you do this? He'll say, yes, I'll wing it. And he just told me the story of his own movement from one avocation to another. A serendipitous journey. And then, with the Dispatch, for 35 years. And we have all seen one image after the other, one gorgeous photo shot after the other of Tom's presentation in the Dispatch. So Tom, I'm going to give this over to you as you tell stories of your father.
Okay. Well, thanks for coming, and I'll try and not think about this microphone in my hand too much.
But we do want to hear you, right?
Okay, so
I know someone who came from the Giant Eagle today. He's working.
this is a good turnout. I just, yeah. You got a nice group here. I see some familiar faces. So, it's true, I'm Mel Dodge's father. I have a son named Mel. I like to say that. But I'm also his son, and that was Melvin Dodge. And actually, I was born Thomas Matthew Dodge. I had two biblical names, and Dad came in to say, what did you name him? And Mom said Melvin, thinking he would be upset, but he beamed. So at that point, she had to go back and change the name on the birth certificate. So I don't know if that story went to the grave or not, but that made me, so that's, okay, that's how it starts. So he was always Dad to me, but he was a recreation and parks director for years, and that is an appointed position. It's not an elected position, so he was there for a very long time through different transitions. And he had his eye on this building. This building was owned by the state of Ohio, and the city wanted it. And I believe what happened was it was like the last act of Governor Rhodes to sign it and give it to the city of Columbus for $1 a year for 100 years, and now it's been 40 years already, and hopefully the state will continue to give us great rent. So that's that part in a nutshell. Am I not talking into the microphone? Okay. I guess I go like this. All right. So that would have been about the same time, 1978, 40 years ago. I was a senior in high school, and we had lions in the basement. And I'll come back to the building. We came down here one night when the construction was going on, and just to look around. We didn't have a tour. We just kind of were exploring. And he had heard that there were tunnels that weren't on the blueprints that were in the courtyard. And that was kind of what we wanted to look at. So I remember kind of crawling in down a ladder into this area. But I guess that was common to have tunnels all over the place that weren't necessarily on blueprints. So I don't know what happened to the tunnels. If they're still there, it might be worth looking into.
We're told they were sealed up.
Sure.
We think there's an entry point in the basement somewhere that's sealed, so.
Let's all go there.
Yeah. Field trip.
In the tunnel, what'd you say? Mine's right. What was in the tunnel? So y'all went and looked, and what y'all see?
Well, it was a hole where they had taken they were excavating, and where, yeah, so now it's a hole that's opened because they've taken as they're starting to dig around. I didn't go into the tunnel very far, and it was night. We can't. Okay. I know. We didn't know there were tunnels. I don't think we brought flashlights. I mean, we just stopped in to like check it out. Said, "Oh, what's over here?" There's tunnels. But that was at the same time that the city of Columbus had the Columbus Zoo under sewers and drains, and they put it under recreation and parks around 1977, I'm guessing, and something like that. And he started a big promotion. I don't know if he started. It was like kind of a conservation movement where they were trying to get the animals out of cages and more into a predator-prey relationship and a better kind of thing. So he was a real advocate for the city and the zoo, and he was a good dad. He was a good dad. He was like the captain of the basketball team that won the state champion and had a kid that the only thing he wanted to do was play guitar. But he liked music. I hear he was a good dancer, and he took me to, he would, if his kids were into something, he would nurture that, and he took me to see, some concerts, down to Nippert Stadium, 1975, Cincinnati. Legends of Rock tour. Aerosmith was the headliner. He came in looking for me. I did see him, but I wasn't ready to go home. So it was a long ride back from Cincinnati. He said, "I thought you were going to be in the front row." So he had gone up there looking for me. But about the Cultural Arts Center, it's it's a beautiful building. We all know that. So I could tell you some more stories about Dad. One of the stories I remember him telling was they had to pick a recreation and parks director for like a day at one of the schools, and the principal will say, well, here's Johnny, he's a straight A student, here's so-and-so, and what about this guy, and Dad would look down the hallway and see this kid following the janitor and say, I want him, he wants to be here. He would take that kid. He was always kind of looking for an underdog and to give somebody a chance. He was like that. So I really liked him. He was a good dad, and he liked lions. He had been in World War II. He was going to be a pilot. They had too many pilots, so he went into infantry. But during that time, there was evidently some propaganda films that showed a white lion, and all the people were afraid. The pilots would see this lion, and it was this symbol of power, and they would fear it. And evidently we got a hold, not we, but the government got a hold of this lion knocking down this pilot and actually urinating on him. So that was good to see, but he always liked lions. So that first one that he brought home, he didn't bring it home. He goes, Tom, I need you to go downtown with me. He didn't say we're going to go get a lion. He just sort of needs you to go downtown. And that, those were never really great words that you wanted to hear, that we're going downtown. I mean, it wasn't in a very poker face. You never knew when he was kidding or if it was a joke or something. So I was a little nervous, went down to City Hall, and if you've ever been in the City Hall underneath there, it's almost like stalagmites or something. They're not stalagmites, but it's like, maybe they fixed it since then, but it's kind of it looks like something that should be in a movie, some dark kind of thing. So the guy comes out of the shadows with a box, and he says, hold this. Sitting on the lap. He's sitting on my lap in a car in this box. I still don't know it's a lion. It's a small cub. Came from Cincinnati, and they make this. I'm not gonna do it, but Mom could probably do it. You want lion sound, that owl sound? Yeah, okay. So I'm gonna give this to Mom because she's. Oh no. She's got such great stories. Oh.
Well, the real story is that when when the zoo became part of the recreation department, he took a group of directors around to all different zoos to find out how he could make this zoo better. And one of the, it was a director from someplace in Kentucky, told him you have to take an exotic animal out. Well, we didn't have anything at the zoo that you could take out. So he found around and found out that the animal park that was then at Cincinnati had a group of baby lions, and they said, oh sure, you can have one. So he was so proud of it, and I said, look, I have had raccoons, I have had skunks, I've even had a possum. I'm not going to raise a lion in this house. And so he said, okay, someone at the zoo will do it. So as Tom said, they went down to the place and he brought the lion home. She was so sweet. She never got to the zoo. She stayed at our house for almost a year until she became so big that the zoo insisted that they take her there. And he went in with her until she was 2 years old, past 2 years old. But one day he went in and she refused to let him come out. And it took so long to get him out because she wanted him to stay with her that Jack Hanna begged him never to go back in again, and I don't think he did. But when he was so sick, just before he died, I used to take him out to the zoo at night, and Elsa would always come to the window. She loved him so much. But that's the lion story. And after that, we had several more lions, but they never were quite like Elsa.
Tom, I remember sitting in your father's office at City Hall. He didn't have anything on his desk. Do you remember how clear everything was? I can see the glass on the desk. And he had this whole world going on. And I thought, this guy is a genius. And I commented. I said, no, how is it there's nothing on your desk? He said, because everybody else is doing the work. But he had that vision to be able to delegate it. And one of the things that he delegated to me, besides the Conversations and Coffee, by the way, 1984, because Susie Hanna was moving on, and he assigned me. But what I was doing at the time was working for Judge Crawford to help people serve instead of sitting in jail, doing community service for something that they had to make up for. And this was his vision. Again, nothing on the desk, no notes. He just said, go out and work with Judge Crawford, which I did do with his vision. The Dispatch picked it up as a story, and I was quoted in there as saying, these individuals who are doing community service would much rather be playing basketball in jail than going out into the community. Now, they picked that up. He called me at 7 in the morning, and he said, you got it, Ellen. That's exactly, but they would rather be out playing basketball in jail than working for Mel Dodge. It was just always so fun and so funny. And his punchlines. You lived with his punchlines. Daughter-in-law, how well did you know Mel?
I only knew him for a year.
What do you remember?
The first time I met him, I had washed Tom's Jeep. Tom had a CJ7 Jeep, and it was pretty dirty. And I took it and I washed it, spit shine that baby. We pulled up in it. Immediately his dad noticed the Jeep. That Jeep, just shiny and pretty, and I think that was good for me. He liked me after that. So he's a very wise man. I hear so many stories from so many people. What an amazing father and man and husband, Mel, and proud to have a kid named after him.
I remember his saying when I said, I don't know enough about art to do a weekly program. I love art. I'd been to Europe. I loved art, but I wasn't an artist. And he said, I'm not either. But it's one of the greatest things we can do for our city. He loved the zoo. He loved the animals. But do you remember his being aware of what art would do? And don't worry about it. He said, you don't have to be a painter. You don't have to do the work of art, but you can bring the community in. And he got Jack Hanna's wife, Susie, to do this. And then she moved on, and he got to get somebody else. So I was blessed to be walking by and his inviting me. Now I have taken drawing and I have taken watercolor, but that's all I've done. But you can imagine how I express what I love through his leadership, through all of you artists.
Back to me.
Tom, you're the artist. You're a photographer.
Thanks.
So you too were inspired, but then you carried it out into an art form. I love your art. I love the foxes on the internet. He's been
Okay,
doing
so,
foxes. Tell us.
all right. I'll talk a little bit about this. At the Dispatch, our editors came back from Milwaukee, and they said, all need to be on social media or you don't meet standards. And I had a big temper tantrum because I wasn't. I'm an older guy. I didn't want to be on anything. And, well, Kyle Robertson, one of the younger photographers, savvy guy, put his arm around me and says, Dodge, you're going to love Instagram. It's all pictures and you can make stuff up. I go, what do you mean, make stuff up? He goes, well, that picture you have of an orangutan, you could put hashtag redhead. And a little light bulb went off and I kind of got it. So I reluctantly joined Instagram, and for all the reasons I didn't want to join because I have an addictive personality, I became addicted. And they didn't say we had to necessarily put up Dispatch photos, so we had a family of foxes move next door, and like for 2 years. So I kind of I became obsessed with the foxes. I mean, as soon as I got off work, I was out there just waiting maybe to get a glimpse of them. I still haven't got a trail camera, but I'd like to someday. Someday, it's, you know, there's all kinds of stuff you miss that just walks by every day. My cat, Milo, let me know that we have flying squirrels. They're nocturnal, and they show up in the tree at night. I thought he was nuts. Cat was just banging at the window, and I thought, what is wrong with you? And it was flying squirrels. And you know, so I try and document those. They're really fast. I still haven't got it quite right. To get one flying in is really hard, but I'm working on it. I worked on it so much for so many nights, I had an owl fly in who was attracted to the lights. So, you know, I put lights out for a while. I looked out last night and saw him. Because the owl didn't get him. So, but it's Tom_Dodge on Instagram. Tom Dodge was already taken. I kind of joined late. There's some pictures of Dad there, if you're interested. Norma Dodge over there, 93 years old, on Instagram. She goes, Tom, you always get to go to these great places and take all these pictures. I never get to go anything. You know, so I said, Mom, there's something called an Insta-Meet. I've never been to one. I'll take you. There's people there that might want to take your picture. Just say, it would be an honor. Because she doesn't really like to have her picture taken. Now she's okay with it. But Adam Elkins takes her picture. It ends up in the Columbus Museum of Art. Largest mobile photo. Lady in church says, hey, Norma, I saw your picture hanging in the museum. Okay, it's a great picture. Adam Elkins did a great job on that. It was so nice. The New York Times Focal Point ran it online, and I mean, it's just amazing how one picture can like change so much. And then there's the classic example. Unfortunately, I didn't take it, but it was Adam's picture. So yeah, I've been a photographer there for 35 years. It'll be 36 if I make it till April. Yeah.
I was just thinking,
Let me give this back over here.
well, I was thinking as you were talking about the foxes, they're exquisite. They're as though you've captured something like, I was thinking of St. Francis telling the town who were terrified of the wolves that were going through, just terrified. And Francis said, feed them, befriend them. Guess what the town did, Assisi? It mourned when the wolf died. They had a little prayer ceremony. So they bonded. The way I think you bond, your father certainly, your mother, with nature. And I'm grateful because that in itself, we just had an artist who spoke of nature as a way to express her art. Let's take a moment of tribute to the Cultural Arts Center. You may not have met Mel, but we're here because of him, because of all the people he delegated to get us here, including Governor Rhodes. Why do you love this place? What would you say, and would you be willing to hold the microphone to tell us? What does it mean to you? And I may be calling on you, Director of the Cultural Arts Center.
Sure, a couple things.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, my name is Steve. I like the building because of the way the design of the bricks are and how the everything's put together and everything. I like that. And plus I do art at Art West.
What's your medium in art? What's your medium?
I do freehand.
Freehand.
I can think of something in my mind and do it from my mind to the paper.
The mind through the paper. Beautiful. Anybody else? What does the Cultural Arts Center mean to you?
That's a question.
Aha.
Me and
Now speak who you are.
oh, everybody. I got a uniform on. Me and Eric were talking about the side of the building where the stables used to be, and when did they build that on the side where ceramics? Because I don't think it was there in '78 when it opened. Anybody know?
I've got a little bit. I thought
Okay.
this might be interesting, and I don't want to bore anybody, but I've got there's a lot of interesting history in the annals of the Cultural Arts Center, and there's files of typewritten paper that we've been able to uncover. I guess if it's okay, I could just share a little bit of the renovation, because I think some of you have probably heard this before, but not everybody. And if you don't mind me taking the mic for a few minutes, Tom, I'll share some of this. Well, I think we know that this is one of the oldest buildings in Columbus. It was built in 1861, and so the National Guard was here for about 100 years before we took over. And we heard a little bit about how that came to be, and I thought it might be interesting to just hear a little of these details. So let me just share. Just some brief history here. So of course it was originally the old state arsenal, and that was a key point. We didn't realize this initially, but for those of you who know where Fort Hays is, we realized that was the Columbus arsenal. This was the Ohio State Arsenal, so they were different. It was built on the site of the first Ohio Penitentiary, so those of you remember know that there was a prison here, but it was torn down, and then they built this building on top of that site. So
That's where the ghost came.
well, that's a whole nother story, but yes, that is accurate. That is where the ghosts came from. Yes, but yeah, that's it. That's in the history here too. So let's see. let's see, acts to establish official state arsenal passed by the Ohio State Legislature in April of 1857 and March of 1859. And then in 1860, acts passed allowing the governor to sell lots of the penitentiary grounds, and the 3 lots were retained for the arsenal. So they completed in 1860 and 1861 at a cost of $14,000. So it's a good deal. Well, so let me talk a little bit about the renovation now, because I think this is kind of, and this might ring some bells for those of you who remember this time. So in 1971, there was part of a bond issue. It was for $250,000 it was for a project to develop a downtown arts and craft center to replace the firehouse that was at Parsons and Oak. Some of you may remember that was where the Arts and Crafts Center was, and we had outgrown that as a department. In '72, we applied for a $1,300,000 federal revenue sharing funds to construct the Downtown Cultural Arts Center. And this is interesting, I didn't realize this, but that idea was not approved. So they did not get that approved in 1972. But then in 1973, Director Dodge and the National Guard toured the arsenal with the possibility of obtaining it for the new Cultural Arts Center. And then in 73 and 74, correspondence between James L. Bauman from the Ohio House of Representatives and Governor John Gilligan regarding the possibility of the transfer of the arsenal to the city adjutant general was not interested without city reimbursement to relocate facilities. So there's all this politics going on, I guess, and trying to get this all transferred. But then in 1975, Governor Rhodes instructed the National Guard and state to work out this 99-year lease arrangement with the department, and the city had to appropriate $250,000 to secure the center. So it goes on there. In 1976, they asked Schooley Cornelius Associates, they were the chosen architects to work on the renovation, from a field of 11 architects from the Columbus area. And for that phase 1, it was $28,000 for that. I guess, so getting to your question, Nelson, they I guess in 1977, they did the contract for the courtyard, the wall, and the restoration of the first floor, and that was $329,000. So there's some, we can maybe pass some of these around, but there's some interesting photos. Oh, and Todd, oh good, Todd has some photos up there of that renovation. It's kind of interesting to see some of these really empty rooms before they were filled with tables and artwork.
Todd, thank you for getting those. That's great.
And if I could, so yeah, you can see there. There's some photos of the inauguration of the building, and that was, I think, June 11th, 1978. I think, Tom, did you say you were actually there at the ceremony?
I don't know.
Okay.
Is that Ellen at the door?
I don't know.
Were you there, Ellen? Or
No.
okay.
No, I didn't move to Columbus till 1980.
Oh, okay.
If it was 77, I doubt it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been there. I didn't start with the paper till 82.
Gotcha.
So.
But isn't that wonderful? Art spoken. Ah,
Ellen?
here.
You now move over there.
Sorry, my bad. Do you want this, Ellen, or?
Well, anybody else want to come forward?
Hey, Jeff, I think Juanita and Jim Mason were the only ones, were the 2 original
Yeah.
teachers.
Can I talk about staff for a second?
Sure.
Oh, Don, did you have a?
Yeah, I was here when we opened.
Oh,
I came over from Oak Street. And at Oak Street, it was an open Parsons choir meeting, which was a very exciting place. And we kind of wondered about moving over here in the first place. Because at Open Parsons at the Cultural Arts Center, I was a potter, and we would leave the doors open when it was kind of warm during the day, so we didn't have air conditioning there at all. So you leave the doors open, but then at night, sometimes you would hear occasional gunfire going on, and it would kind of make you look up from your work, like, oh yeah. But then we moved over here, and at the time, Dora Rosenfeld was the director of the Cultural Arts Center, and she came over. And then Helene Egner-Dwyer was the potter, and you mentioned, well, Jim Mason was here. John Whaling was the fiber person. I'm not sure of some of the others because basically I ignore everything but ceramics.
Well,
So
No,
I
that-
don't know about this. But I did have one question, because I remember, Mel coming here all the time. And, when the Cultural Arts Center started up here, it was really great, but for some reason, and they got a great deal, what, it was $1 a year for 99 years? I mean, we could use deal makers like that in government now, I think. But on the other hand, it was a great deal for the Cultural Arts Center, but Mel never thought about, oh, we might need parking, and I didn't know, what, how did that happen, that we never got parking lots for, I mean, anymore when you see a building being rezoned for something, that everybody says, oh yeah, what about parking, somehow we never got a parking lot for the Cultural Arts Center, which was, it would have been nice, would have been a lot cheaper back then probably to buy parking, but
What a
does anyone?
testimony to how many people make it anyway. It's sad.
Well, yeah, but I didn't know if anybody had any idea why, and I just heard stories that he said, well, we want to encourage pedestrian traffic. Well, I guess it's pedestrian when you have to park on the other side of the river and walk over. But I never heard anything about.
That's kind of what that's what I've always heard too, is that they kind of had looked at some spots, but they said, oh, people walk. People
Walk, yeah, pouring down rain and you're walking from front.
And maybe he was right, all these condos are popping up downtown, so maybe that we're finally getting to that vision of people walking to the Cultural Arts Center.
Yeah, a vision of the future, right?
Well, Don, that's good information, because the next time everybody's complaining about parking, we're going to say, Mel Dodge did that. It wasn't us, man. It was...
I have a theory. I know that there's been quite a few parking tickets given for people in my class too, so maybe it was a roundabout fundraiser for the city as well. Raise some of those parking funds.
They need 4-hour meters.
Don was talking about some of the staff. I wanted to jump in there if I could real quickly, because you got a bunch of them. We found, one of the files we found was the original staff here. Dora Rosenfeld, of course, was the original director, and you can see a beautiful portrait. Some of you hopefully can see this right here. That was actually painted by another one of our original faculty members named Mary Jane Alford. So that was an interesting connection, painting that she did of the director. And there's a really lovely photograph here that a friend of ours, Barb Vogel, did of Dora much later, I believe in this building down in the Enamel Studio. So I thought this was a really lovely image of her early and later in her life. So you can check those out. So you're right, Helene, Mary Jane Alford was another one. Veda Beadler was another of the artists here, and Jim Mason, who just kind of officially retired here not long ago. And then John Whaling, of course, that was the original group. And then not too long after that, I don't have dates for all these, so I don't know exactly when a lot of these folks, but some of the names you'll probably find a little more familiar for those of you who've taken classes here. So Jim Mason, of course, again, and Helene Dwyer, John Whaling, Tracy Steinbrook, Juanita Hill, Debbie Jackson, and Denise Romecki. I think that was the sort of the next level of the staff here. And just for bonus points, does anybody know of those teachers? There's one of them who's still teaching today. Anybody have a? Denise Romecki is still here. She's with us, and she's one of our favorites. So we're certainly glad to have her. And actually, I should say Juanita. She and Jim retired about 2 years ago at the same time, officially from their part-time. But both of them still come back and they help out. And I think Jim's taking classes still, so we still see them. And Jim is always great for some stories about this building. I think he's actually one of the people who told me early on when he was working with, talking to School of Cornelius, he was the one who said he found those tunnels down in the basement and he got into them, which I think he may, I'm not sure, but I think he may be the reason they walled them up, so. Well, here, I'll pass this back.
Look at all the parking right there in that photograph, huh?
Tom, any thoughts at this point?
Is the door open for the tunnel?
I closed it up a few years because when I first, when me and you started in 09, they were still open. Because we went down and we got all the way over to like the courthouse.
Really?
Yeah.
I think it's brick. I can see a section that looks like it was bricked, like that was a hole,
Yeah,
but
they bricked it up.
so that's where I think it is. But again, we'll have to take a field trip all together.
Is that right at the bottom?
I think it's past where all the, for those of you who've been in the basement, there's all those hanging mannequins. Sorry, that sounds weird, but there are mannequins down there for drawing classes, and I think it's just past all those wheels and the mannequins. That's my.
The mannequins are also covered in trash bags.
Yeah, so it's not any weirder. Yeah.
Speaking of that, that's a form of art. I just saw it in the paper today. The trash.
You know,
Did you see that?
yeah.
Amazing.
I was thinking about Jim Mason.
Did you hear different stories?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Jim Mason. That's just Jim Mason. I had a class, took a class here in the sculpture class, and Jim was here, and that's when I think I first really kind of got to know him a little bit. Jim was, I had been over once, and it was a long time ago, and I think he had a cat door or something, but a raccoon was coming in and eating out of the cat's bowl. It was a raccoon or a possum. This is in his home. And he had set up a blind in the kitchen. And I've never forgot about that. I just thought, man, that's cool. I mean, most people would not, want a raccoon or a possum in their kitchen, but it just came in, ate the cat food, and went back out the cat door. But I like Jim a lot. He,
Did Jim do this work?
No, that came off of a ship.
That's off of.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think he refinished it the first time.
It's just so much talent comes through here. I can remember just coming in. I came here so much to get pictures. I just stop in all the time. I came here so many times. I think I had almost everybody. I couldn't get the same person. You have to pick somebody different. But I think I got a whole class once in the paper.
Yeah.
Before I got, there were 3 places that I went to a lot. Cultural Arts Center, CCAD, and the Columbus Zoo. And there was one year where they banned me. Just for a while. My photo editors, so find some different places, but it's a good thing. It's like, fish in a barrel. You're gonna get a picture here. There's always something going on. So
it's a real reflection, is it not, how Columbus has grown as a community of art? Anybody want to comment on that? Norma, what do you think?
I'm not an artist. I just like to watch and see other people.
Well, that's what I want you to say. Me too.
As I say, I'm not an artist. I can't even draw 2 straight lines. But oh, how I love to look at other people's. I have a beautiful necklace that Veda made for me, especially, and I value it. It isn't in style right now, but I value it very much. And I just love this Cultural Arts Center.
Well, could we maybe take a minute now and
Yes.
if it's okay to talk a little bit about what we're doing this year for the big anniversary?
Wonderful.
Well, okay. I'll try not to feedback this time. So yeah, we mentioned a few times this is our 40th anniversary, and my name is Jeff Martin, by the way. I'm the director, and I always I like to say that as the director, I'm standing on the shoulders of giants, because there are so many people who came before me to build this building up and build this program up to make it what it is today, that something that the community really values and loves so much. So I'm really proud to be a part of it, and I'm really proud to be here for the 40th anniversary. So we've been planning for a little while, trying to think about some things to make this year special. And so every 2 years we typically do a student and faculty exhibition. And so we'll have a chance to feature our artists who teach here and the students who take the classes here, and we'll show off what they're making in our main gallery. We do that over the summer when we have a lot of folks coming. The Arts Festival happens right on our doorstep, so that's a wonderful time to see thousands of people come in our doors. So what we decided to do differently this year is we're separating into 2 shows. So we're going to do a faculty exhibition first in the summer, and then we're going to do the student exhibition. And kind of in honor of the history of the program, what we thought we would do is we would kind of pull some of the artwork from some of the amazing folks who came before. So during the faculty exhibition, we're going to feature our current faculty, but we're also going to be featuring some of the originals, some of the staff who were here right at the beginning, and show off some of their artworks. And then likewise, when we get to the student exhibition, there's so many wonderful students who have just made this place so special, not because they taught here, just because of what they shared with the rest of the people here. And so we're going to be pulling some of the artwork of some of those really legendary students who or even though they're not here with us anymore or not taking classes anymore, we're going to be showing off some of their works this summer too. So we're excited to be showing off some of that history. For those of you who just came in today, you might have even noticed right outside, for this month and February, we're doing a project right outside. It's a community art mural. We're asking everybody who loves and likes the Cultural Arts Center to add something to the mural there. So it's going to be up for a whole nother month. So anyone here who's here today, you can paint, you can draw on it. You can somebody added a woven scarf to it. You can sign your name if the Cultural Arts Center is important to you. There's all kinds of paints and paint pens out there. We're really excited to see what that looks like at the end of 2 months, and then hopefully that's something we'll be able to share this summer, or at least parts of it during the Columbus Arts Festival too. I guess I'll mention too, we don't have all the details of this yet, but later in the summer we're planning sort of a community open house day where we can invite everybody from the town into the center to see what we've done with the joint over the past 4 years. So we're pretty excited about this summer. Hopefully all of you are pretty excited about it too. So that is what's coming up.
There's some 40th celebration happening on Sunday, July 15th or something?
That's what we're planning, yeah.
That's the open house that you're
Yeah, right. So it is late mid-July, I guess, yeah. And so we'll have more details. We don't have a ton of information about it yet because we're still figuring out what that's going to be. But we're hoping to open our doors and invite everybody in for a little bit of a party. So, all right, thanks.
40th birthday party. That's young too, isn't it? And Norma said, 100-year lease. How young we are. Only 60 more years to go for someone to negotiate the next 100 years for $1 a year, huh? Well, thank you. Tom, you want a last word?
Let me tell you one more story. Mom used to heat the lions' food up a little bit, and she wasn't there. My sister was home, and the stove was out. So the guy's got his head in the stove. My sister let him in, the repairman, yeah. And Elsa's pretty big, and she hears the stove open, so she figures it's time to eat. And she's got these big paws, and she opened up the basement door, and out she came. So the guy's got his head in his stove, doesn't know we have a lion, pulls his head out, he sees the lion, and he screams. Well, it scared her. And when he screamed, it scared her. She goes running around the house and knocking things over, and my sister came down, and I came home, and she goes, I just got the lion in the basement. Have you seen the repair guy? And he had hit himself. We had a half bathroom down there, a toilet down there. He'd gone in there and closed the door, but he wouldn't answer the door. It was locked, and he just did nothing. He wasn't happy. He came out of there and he was, because they'll never believe me. And just, he left. That was probably, and then one time, it was soluble, it was paint. She had knocked over a gallon and walked through it, all over the basement. I came home, Mom's cleaning everything up, and I begged her to leave one print. Just leave one.
I love it. Mel would love it.
Mel would love it that we are here today. A tribute to you and your marvelous mother, Norma, just in the short amount of time to be with you. And, thank you.
To continue the celebration.
Yes,
A whole year ahead of us, right?
And there's some old photos if you want to take a peek of even more than was on the slide.